My name is Philip Deturi. I am the Director of Education at FiCycle, and today I'm going to be giving a talk which we call Wealth Not Cash. Now, these four concepts are related in somewhat obvious ways, but they are explicitly related in these equations that we're going to talk about right now. So first, I'd like to talk about the net worth equation. Now, we already talked about wealth. Wealth is essentially your net worth. It is defined as your assets minus your liabilities. Right? In a sense, it is your ability to consume, and it captures how much money you would have left or how much wealth you would have left if you paid off all of your debts and looked at your remaining wealth. Now, for math classes, this equation bothers me. Why does this equation bother me? Really dislike the NW. Right? In math class, we teach kids that two variables next to each other means you multiply them. And then here in our course, we're using an NW equals A minus L. Now, why are we doing that? We're doing that because when they leave our classroom, when students are no longer with us, this is what they're going to see, right? This is how people talk about the net worth equation. This is what they'll see in other literature outside of math class. And so we need to just explain to them, listen, sometimes a variable is represented by two letters. And one of the ways we deal with it in our materials, if you're using the FiCycle course, is we never list this equation without also listing an accompanying formula so that you can see that NW equals net worth. I think it's important to discuss this with students, but they don't tend to have a problem with it after you go over it. So let's actually look at some examples of how students might interact with this. We can come up with a really simple example. Emilio has $101,500 in assets, $450 in liabilities. Let's calculate his net worth. They can go ahead and just calculate his net worth directly. In this case, we're really just substituting values for variables. However, we can ask students to do a multi-step problem. This is in some sense a two-step equation, but not in the way that most teachers think. You can give students a scenario like this in which a character has more than one asset, more than one liability, and now students need to sum assets and sum liabilities before putting them into the equation. This is a different activity, requires more than one step, and I think it's kind of an in-between step that we often skip in math classes. Certainly it's worthwhile for understanding personal finance, but I would also make a big case for this for when students are first learning to interact with equations and variables in the math classroom. In addition to the net worth equation, we also have the net income equation. The net income equation helps us relate income and expenses. Net income is defined as your income minus your expenses. Now again, we have the same issue I had with net worth here, which is the NI is supposed to represent one variable, net income. So you please need to make sure that if you're working with students, you point this out. That does not stand for N times I. Net income is standing for one variable, net income, and we're always going to have the key there whenever we see the equation to try to drive that point home. Now, you can do all the same kinds of activities involving solving for an unknown or substitution with this equation as you could the last. From a mathematical standpoint, they're identical. However, what's interesting is the fact that these concepts are related. When you compare the net worth equation with the net income equation, you can see that because one is describing our wealth at a fixed point in time and the other is describing changes in wealth, a change in one requires a change in the other. So you can see that all four of these financial categories have to stay balanced and are in relation to each other. And this is part of why finance is fundamentally linked not just to arithmetic, but also to algebra. It's also kind of fun to point out to students that accounting is the job of making sure that these equations stay balanced as we do business and engage in things in our financial lives. So let's see an example of how we can create a question and have students think about this balancing and this comparing. So I'm going to read the question to you first, and then I'm going to have you pause and do the video. So you incur an expense of $100. Which of the following is not compatible with this? A, you lose an asset worth $100 and nothing else changes. B, your liabilities increase by $100 and nothing else changes. C, your liabilities decrease by $100 and nothing else changes. And D, a pickpocket takes $100 cash out of your wallet. So let's stop for a second, pause the video, respond to this question. Okay, what did you get? So it turns out that the answer is C. And incurring an expense of $100 is not compatible with your liabilities decreasing by $100. Because liabilities contribute negatively to our wealth. Therefore, when they decrease, that would be earning income. You would be increasing your wealth by $100 if your liabilities decreased by $100. You can see that the others are compatible with incurring an expense of $100. Assets contribute positively to our wealth. So A, you lose an asset worth $100, is an expense of $100. Liabilities contribute negatively to our wealth. So B, your liabilities increase by $100 is an expense of $100. And D, a pickpocket takes $100 out of your wallet. Again, this represents an expense of $100 because you have $100 less with which to consume.